Good morning or good afternoon, 8th grade. We are jumping into lesson 13 today. So let's go ahead and look at what we're going to be covering today. So today you're going to analyze the purpose and motives for expressing information, as well as the advantages and disadvantages of using different mediums. You will also analyze cases of conflicting information. Before we do that, let's go to our entrance ticket. This is going to be on page 62 in your workbooks. You're going to watch the short video that's linked here called Cooking Together, and then you're going to answer some questions, okay? After you've answered, I would love for you guys to turn and talk, all right? You've got some things to talk about here. All the questions that you're going to answer translates to that turn and talk. So go ahead, pause the video, complete this, and then let's do a little turn and talk. All right, guys, so now that you've had time to complete your entrance ticket and turn and talk, let's talk about what you might have said for your answers. So the first question, I'm just waiting on mine to load. It might take it just a moment. Let's try again here. Not wanting to load. Okay, guys, we're going to come back to this. So I trust that you guys have discussed this, because I'm so sorry my screen is not loading. So I hope and trust that you guys have discussed this with your partners, and that maybe your teacher has walked around the room and had some conversation with you. So we're going to go ahead and jump in and look at our learning targets for today. So we have 3, and they're so wordy. I'm so sorry. I know that's a lot of words, guys. But let's go ahead and let's get into this, okay? So the first one says, I can identify advantages and disadvantages of using different mediums to present information about industrial meat and farming. The second says, I can analyze 2 texts that provide conflicting information on industrial meat and farming and identify where they disagree on matters of fact or interpretation. The last one says, I can identify possible purposes and motives for presenting information on industrial meat and farming and provide an example of each. All right, guys, so let's review some of the anchor charts. So the lesson calls for you guys to review the analyze different mediums anchor chart. So if I'm going to ask your teacher to pull that up now and kind of go over that with you guys. I don't have that linked on here, but your teacher should be able to pull it up. It might even be in your student workbooks. I'm not sure. But let's just pause here and let's go ahead and give you guys a little bit of time to review that as a class, and then come back to me when you're ready. All right, guys. So today we're going to be working on this analyze different mediums anchor chart. Again, I believe we are. Well, actually, no, we're not. We're always going to be referring back to it, but what we're going to do today is a little bit different. So we're going to have some think, pair, share. So find your elbow partner, and I've got a couple questions I want you guys to go through. What are the advantages of using that video that we had, Cooking Together, as a medium to convey a message about a topic? That's your first question. Second question, what was Bryant Terry's purpose? And lastly, was the video a helpful way to deliver that message? So go ahead and have some think, pair, share conversations, pause the video, and then we'll come back together in just a few moments. All right, guys, a couple more questions for you. I want you guys to do your elbow partner, and then I want you to share out as a class. What other mediums would also have helped him spread that same message? And are there any disadvantages to using a video to convey information, like he did on Eating and Cooking Together? So go ahead and pause the video, have some conversations. Your teacher should hopefully be circulating the room, listening to what you're saying, and then we'll come back together in just a few minutes. All right, guys. So today we're going to learn a new word. Well, it shouldn't be a new word, because this is actually your performance task. So we've heard this term before. What is an infographic? What is the purpose of an infographic? Okay, so let's have some class discussion, pause the video, and then come back to me when you're finished. So hopefully you guys had some discussion about an infographic, a visual presentation of information, okay? So what is the purpose of an infographic? Well, it's still sharing information with you, but it's doing it in a visually captivating way, okay? So think like commercials, okay? They oftentimes, some of them will give you statistics, or they'll put nice new shiny things in order to get your attention and capture your attention in order to want you to buy something or to promote something, okay? So a few more questions, all right? On page 85, there is an infographic and it's called What's in a Twinkie? So I want you guys to go there, and then in your elbow partners, you're going to discuss these 3 questions. What is the purpose of this infographic? What is the motive behind the inclusion? Why put this in the book? Excuse me. Are there any advantages or disadvantages to presenting the information this way in this medium? Okay, so go ahead and pause the video. I want you guys to look at that infographic, talk through these questions, and then come back to me when you're ready to move on. All right, guys, so we're ready to look at some different mediums, and we're going to talk today through industrial meat and farming, okay? So with your elbow partner, I want you to go read pages 37 through 39 of the Omnivore's Dilemma. Be sure to also read the infographics. All right, let's do that first. After that, you're going to answer these 2 questions. What information was presented in these 2 mediums? And what are the advantages and disadvantages of using each medium? Okay, so go ahead and with your elbow partners, pause the video, work through this, and maybe then share out as a class. I think that would be a great idea. And you guys can come back to me when you're ready to move on. All right, guys. So we are now going to move into doing some work, actual answering some questions here. So in your student workbooks, page 63 through 66, I want you and your elbow partner to work through these questions that relate to industrial meat and farming. So you're going to work through and you're going to answer these together, okay? And then hopefully we'll come back together and we'll talk about these a little bit. If I can get them to pull up on my computer. I'm having many technical difficulties today. So let's go ahead and pause the video. You guys work through this. Come back to me when you're ready to discuss it and go over it. Okay, guys, so you were told in this activity to refer to the print text section on page 34 through 39. Number 1 says, what are the advantages of presenting the material on page 47 in an infographic? And you could select more than one. It says select all that apply. So you guys should have selected B, C, and D. They are all correct. It's visually engaging. It presents bite-sized pieces of information, and it turns complicated information into visual graphics that are easy to understand. Number 2 says, what is one advantage to presenting the material on page 37 in an infographic? You should have said B. It provides only bite-sized pieces of information which can leave the reader without important details on the topic. I'm sorry, if I said advantage, I meant disadvantage. It provides, so it's only bite-sized, right? It doesn't include everything, okay? Number 3, what is the purpose of showing the infographic on page 37? You guys should have said A, to inform the reader about the decline in crop and livestock diversity between 1920 and 2002. Number 4 says, what can you infer about the motive behind the infographic presented on page 37? You should have said A, the motive behind the infographic is likely environmental because Michael Pollan wants more people to be aware of the impact a lack of crop diversity has on the landscape of farm areas like Iowa. Part 2 is titled Chicken Nuggets. Okay, my 3-year-old loves chicken nuggets. So you're supposed to read pages 117 through 120. Number 5 says, also paying attention to the infographics on those pages. Number 5 says, what are the advantages of presenting the material on those pages using printed written text? Select all that apply. You should have said A, B, and C. A, it provides details about the topic. B, the reader can go back to the text multiple times to review the information. And C, the reader can employ active reading strategies like annotating and coding to help him or her break down or understand the text. Number 6 said, what is one advantage of presenting the material on page 119 as an infographic? You should have said D. It turns complicated information about chicken nuggets into visual graphics that are easy to understand. 7, what is one purpose of showing the infographic on page 119? You should have said C, to inform consumers about the popularity of chicken nuggets and the unhealthy fats they contain. And number 8, you should have said what can you infer about the motive behind the infographic presented on page 119? And the answer is A. The motive seems to be social because the information presented by Michael Pollan is aimed at informing consumers about the popularity of and fat contents in chicken nuggets, hoping that people will choose healthier food options. All right, guys, that was a huge chunk of work. Thank you for hanging in there with me. So we're going to move on to the closing and assessment now, okay? So have you ever seen or heard conflicting information on a topic before? So I want you guys as a class to pause the video, think about some things that you've seen or heard conflicting information about, have a little discussion, and then come back to me when you're ready to move on. Second question to think about here. Hopefully you guys had some good discussion. What strategies can readers use to help them know what to trust or believe in the text they read? Pause the video, have a class discussion, and then come back to me when you're ready. All right, guys, so now we're going to look at page 71. Read the section about corn-fed beef, starting at advertisers use the phrase and stopping at healthy for us to eat corn-fed cattle. When you're done, I want you to read or answer, what is marbled beef? And number 2, what is Michael Pollan's interpretation of beef marbled with fat? So have some conversation with your elbow partner. Your teacher should be walking the room and hopefully can help you pick apart this section and understand what's going on. So go ahead and pause the video and come back to me when you're ready. Okay, guys, so hopefully you said that marbled beef is meat from corn-fed cattle. It becomes marbled that way, which means it contains many veins of white fat. And Michael Pollan thinks that marbled beef is a bad choice. The beef is corn-fed, it contains unhealthy fats, and he believes the meat is less healthy for us. This digital text and the Omnivore's Dilemma both agree what marbled beef is. However, they give conflicting information about the fat quality of marbled beef, okay? So this source, your teacher has the, right here is the link to it in the notes. So you guys can read through that with your elbow partner. And let me see what this next slide says. Yeah, here it is. Okay. So I want you to read this digital text with your partner, working to identify where it provides conflicting information. So how does that article conflict with what Michael Pollan just said, or what we just read about how he feels about marbled beef? So go ahead, pause the video, work through that, have some discussion, and come back to me when you're ready. All right, guys. So, in what ways did the text present conflicting information or interpretations about beef marbled with fat? I want you to answer this with your elbow partner right now. How was the information conflicting? And then one more question, and we're going to close out with our exit ticket for today. What reactions do you have to the conflicting interpretations? So what reaction did you have to the book that we're reading and then the article? So with your elbow partner, go ahead and have that discussion right now, and then come back to me when you're ready. All right, guys, so you're now going to work on exit ticket, unit 1, lesson 13. This is going to be the last thing you do to close out class. I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Your teacher will go over the exit ticket with you, and I will see you guys again very soon.